to get ahead.
You seem like a very nice person, right? Doesn't he seem like a
Yes,
nice
he does.
person?
We've always liked him.
Why would
Sounds
you
like
even,
a mother.
Why
Sounds
would
like
you even consider
nice,
this?
young man.
What in the world? I mean, it's not, you understand, it is not fun.
Yeah, I know. I've been close to others who have done this. But the fact of the matter is our problems aren't going to solve themselves. Many of the things that we did to disconnect, the hard work of American workers from the productivity of corporations are things that we did. So these are brought upon ourselves. We'd like to pretend that maybe the economy blew in here on some sort of Gulf Stream or jet stream, right. But the fact is we make these rules, and we can make better rules in order to restore that link between hard work and the opportunity to get ahead.
If you had an opportunity to pass one rule that would rebuild the middle class and reverse the trend of income inequality. Income inequality. And I'll tell you what, I'm hearing this not from politicians, but from Republicans as well as Democrats as well as independents. The rich get richer, the poor get poor, and the middle class gets squeezed. What's one thing that reverses that trend?
Well, one thing would be to reinstate Glass-Steagall. For 70 years, we prevented banks from gambling with our money and wrecking our economy and running roughshod over the common good that we share as a people and having a stable and good economy. Everybody, I mean, on both sides of the aisle. I mean, so many people say that we should do that, and yet it remains undone. And some people in my own party are holding themselves out as promoting some sort of Dodd-Frank light. We don't want to offend anyone on Wall Street, so let us not talk honestly about how we can rein in this sort of excessive behavior. Because one of the things we haven't talked about too much is that for all of the pain from the home foreclosures and the job losses, the concentration of wealth after each of these last two busts on the stock market actually increased. In other words, while other people lost home, the people at the top actually came out even further on top.
Made an awful lot of money off of the bailout.
There's a story, Governor, in the New York Times today, the headline of which is, Democrats see no choice but Hillary Clinton in 2016. True or false?
She's too big to fail.
Well, maybe that's the way it is today. But our history as a party is one of always wanting to have robust discussions about the better choices that'll give our kids a better future. So I think that that's true today. Look, every year there is most years there's the inevitable front runner. And that inevitable front runner is inevitable right up until he or she is no longer inevitable. So I think you're going to see a robust conversation in the Democratic Party about how we restore our middle class and middle class opportunity.
If you decide to run, will you be running to win and do all the things that a candidate who normally runs for president does to win, including attacking the front runner?
Well, I think I learned in a student council election at Gonzaga, you don't get into races unless you're committed to win. So I would be running to not only to win, but to govern well, to make the case to the people of our country that there are better choices we can make together that will actually make wages go up and make college more affordable for our kids again.
So if you were president, let's try a different angle at this. Would you require your Secretary of State to use the official server of the State Department?
I was wondering when we were going to get into that.
I'm just curious. Would you require that? Would that be important to you as Commander-in-Chief?
Well, sure, it would be important to me. But more important than email policies would be making our economy work, getting wages to go up, indexing the minimum wage, raising the threshold for overtime pay, making the investments that actually create jobs and give people a shot at giving their kids a better life.
Willie.
Governor, we had an NBC poll out just this week. We asked Democratic voters who they could see themselves supporting for president. 86% said Hillary Clinton, 11% said Martin O'Malley. What can you tell Democratic voters about yourself? Because Hillary Clinton
was... Am I really up to 11%?
You are. Double digits. Congratulations, sir.
Give me that poll.
Yeah, exactly. Big old 11 right there. Here's the poll
Who did this poll? Was this my mom?
But what would you tell Democratic voters? Because Hillary Clinton's almost certain to run as well. Why are you different from her? What's better about you than Hillary Clinton?
Well, I have 15 years of executive experience. in a city that at the time was one of the most violent and addicted cities in America. And I was listening to the segment just earlier about law enforcement, about our fears and distrust of one another. I brought people together in order to give our city a safer and better future. As mayor, we made our schools the best in the nation, and for 8 years in a row, even through a recession, maintained the highest median income in America and achieved a rate of job creation that was superior to that of our neighbors in Virginia or Pennsylvania. So I have a record of not only getting things done, but doing it in a new and more modern way.
So you being here is timely. This morning in the Washington Post on page A2, I'm sure you've seen it, Dana Milbank writes, Hillary Clinton doesn't have a credible challenger. O'Malley actually is a serious player with a solid record, and he might well make a good president, but he's campaigning as if he's running to be Clinton's EPA administrator or her OMB director. He may be the Bruce Babbitt of 2016. He appeals to liberal intellectuals, but this wonk is not about to fire up the party's base. What do you say to Dana Milbank and skeptics?
Well, people inside the Beltway are usually the last people to know when something is happening in Iowa or in New Hampshire. Yeah. And people in those early states take their vote very, very seriously. They consider themselves to be, the talent scouts, if you will, in making that first decision about what our choices are. And so we don't have any announced candidates in this race yet, but anybody who's watched my history, not only in governing and getting things done, but in campaigning, will see that I've never run a bad race, and I've never gone all out when I've gone all in.
Right. You definitely pivoted out of Mika's question earlier. I want to come back to the question of Secretary Clinton and her email practices. We know a lot about it, not all about what she did, including setting up a separate server, storing all of it, using that exclusively. Some 30,000 emails that she herself has deemed personal. Is there anything about what you know about this story, what she did, and about her explanations for it that gives you pause? Do you think she's done anything wrong?
I'll let you guys ask the questions that you feel compelled to ask.
I'm asking you the question right now.
Yeah, but I don't feel compelled to answer that. Secretary Clinton is perfectly capable of defending her own service in office. It is important,
Would you do that? If you were entrusted as Secretary of State, would you ignore the President and set up your own server?
I think I'd rely on my people to tell me what the rules were and just do it.
And you'd follow the rules?
Yeah, and that's what we've done. And look, if we had a uniform email policy across all 50 states and every county and every city and every department of the federal government, if we had that uniform email policy today, none of that would make a hill of difference to people that are trying to send their kids to college or that are working harder, not making overtime, and slipping further behind. And those are the big issues in this race. Look, there are big structural changes afoot in our economy, and this is the time when we actually need people who govern us to have a framework for the future of the better choices that we can make in order to make our economy function again. People don't care so much about email policies. It's important that you ask. It's important that we be as open and transparent as possible. But it's not the issue that's going to restore our economy.
But for the record, Willie, he did say he would follow the rules.
Yes, he would.
So let's just let the record say
that
he would actually follow the rules, as I would hope we all would.
Governor, what do you say to Democratic voters who said out loud, many of them, that they're compelled to make Hillary Clinton the first woman president, to make history with a vote in 2016? What would you say to them?
Well, I think that, I supported Secretary Clinton back in 2008. I have a tremendous amount of admiration for her, and so it's natural and I think healthy and good that our party is such a diverse party, that we have such strong people to put forward on a national basis. And so I think this is the way it should work. I think that any of us in the Democratic Party who feel we have a track record of executive experience, getting things done, and a better framework for the future should offer ourselves in service. And then we should trust the good judgment and the intelligence of the American people in their vote to do what they feel is best for themselves and their families.
Well, good for you.
Housekeeping? When do you
I'm serious.
I'll make it by this spring.
You know, I've always said, and Heilman, of course, is a cynic, and he laughs.
I know.
But when I say good for you, I always tell everybody, because they ask, what's it like running? running? What's it like putting your name out in the ballot? He said, everybody should run for office.
And I was serious
once,
when I asked
to
it.
understand the sacrifice that politicians make. But to run for president of the United States, that is so above and beyond the call of duty. So I mean it.
Well, thank you. Stay tuned, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Former Governor Martin O'Malley.
I do have one last question. Where's Matt Drudge getting all these photographs of you in tight T-shirts playing the guitar? Because he seems to post a new one every day.
I've been playing in a band since I was in high school.
All right.
Unfortunately, Matt is finding older pictures.
Oh, that's good stuff. I'm looking.
I love it.
Martin O'Malley, thank you very much. John Heilman, stay with us, please. Still ahead on Morning Joe.